Good morning, and welcome to January 5th, 2024, and another episode of Who Am I? I don't exactly know where we're going. I never know exactly where we're going, except I do know the general topic. We're going to talk today about source energy. That's always what we're talking about. It's always a matter of fact, emotionless, not necessarily emotionless, but discussion about source energy, how that relates to me as an individual. What does it mean to be a human being on the planet Earth in the 21st century? What does it mean? It's such a crazy world, if you're really paying attention. The world has changed so much since I was a little girl. The outlook from the point of view of human beings, what we thought was real, where we thought we were going, what we thought were the players on the board and the opportunities, they're all different now. They're all different. What you could do 10 years ago is nothing like what you can do now. And it's just an amazing, amazing thing to be a human being on planet Earth right now. And I think it's worth having a little discussion about what that means. Who are we? Who are we? Where did we come from? Where are we going? How does this net of co-creativity work? We are all in this together. That is absolutely true. How is this game playing on the board? How do I play my piece? How does my biotechnology work? Where did it come from? What is my design? Why do I have everybody has some sort of design, but I'm designer. As a human being, we are a designer species. And the reason we are is because somebody designed us. Or at least I believe so. If you don't believe that this happened intentionally, we still have the evidence that it happened. And so that's worth taking a look at, because it does determine a lot of our configured layout, if you will, our configuration, our design, how we work, how our biotechnology works, what our emotions mean, the binary design of our minds, what our inner being is, how that could be in physicality, an understanding of the new physics. Actually, there is a new physics emerging. I say emerging. Actually, I don't usually use this one, but so I say that there is a I hate it when I do this. And if my because I just lost my place and I was on it. I was just going to use the air quotes and then get off the air quotes, because the air quotes distract me, obviously, because it just kicked me out of that beautiful whatever I was roaring to. But let's talk about our design. How it works. How this... let's see, what I had brought up was the new physics. I said, we have a new physics. The air quotes was going to be new. And the reason it was going to be that is because the first of this was published 12 years ago. So that's in 2012. Actually, it's a little over 13 years ago. Doesn't matter. It's not new anymore. So I got to get off the air quotes, because as long as it stays on the air quotes, I'm distracted. The new math and the new physics that has emerged. Now, not everybody's jumped on board with it, but it doesn't matter to me who has or has not. I feel the truth when I see it. It's like, oh, doesn't this just fit in with everything you've been adding up all your whole entire life? Does this not just fit? It fits. It's perfect. So the new mathematics, it's not the new math, it's the new physics and the mathematics done describing the new physics. The mathematics that ties the nature of the dense quantum vacuum fluctuations and the density at that scale and the behavior at that scale, how you square that with the way the universe behaves at the cosmological level. That's actually the mathematics and understanding that has not been in place and is not in place when you're talking about our enormous collective outside intelligence, who mankind is being collectively on the outside right now. Now, what he is on the outside and what he is on the inside are two different things. Because on the inside, we are all one and we are all together on this. And actually, this inside thing is coming out. All right, so far I'm talking nonsense. As a matter of fact, I'm 6 minutes in. I can't go back now. So what is this new physics I'm talking about? It's the physics of the 0-point energy field and the mathematics done. I put this, probably prematurely, I put this slide up. I'm all out of sync this morning. Oh my goodness. Let's just back up to... where are we going to back up to? Let's just back up all the way out and see how I come back into this. Who am I? Who am I? That's the question we ask every day. And I'm going to attempt to answer this from an individual's perspective, my position of divine autonomy on this grid of the Planck field, the vacuum fluctuations, the formless coming into the form. Who am I? Who am I? I am divinely autonomous. I possess unto myself a almost magical consciousness. I spoke about human beings being a designer species. I do believe that we are. I'm going to tell you about our configuration and some things about our genetics, which sort of imply a genetic modification, because what you're looking at in this genetic read here is, it looks like 2 ape chromosomes were fused together, telomere to telomere, with redundancies clipped away on both sides of this fusion, and the ending result was the greatly plumped up volume of the neocortex, that overlay, that overview, and it's like the overview aspect of our analytical mind, our broader perspective, our ability to get outside of our hormonal emotional responses to the physical world around us and see the world, see what's going on in a broader, more holistic view. This gives our physical human mind the ability to do this. This was largely created by let's put up this. This is the configuration of the human mind, with all of its lower layers, adding to our perceptual tool chest, you might say. each one of these adding a way that we are perceiving the quantum soup around us, the field, the world, the physical world around us. That neocortex gives us overview, which is very interesting because it turns out, here I was telling you, this was published in 1991, not by anybody that had any agenda. There was just some geneticists who looked at the configuration of this extra large a chromosome in our packet of 23 chromosomes. It's actually one of the largest ones, and it's responsible for 8% of the DNA in every one of our cells. But this here was published in 1991. It's really easy to find. PNAS.org published the second volume, published in October. It's I had to look at the titles of all of the things to find this one. It's the 40th one in. I couldn't find a table of contents. So anyway, what it's saying is that that human chromosome number 2 is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. Now, the interesting thing about this chromosome is that it largely takes us from being an ape hominid to being a human hominid. I don't know if that was I don't know if a hominid is, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way. It takes us from being apes to being humans. This is the missing link. This is the missing link. And these people didn't have any, and I don't think anybody has really done anything with this. I've never heard anybody take this and run, except a little bit from Greg Braden, who actually, this slide right here is his. And I have another one here too. This is his other slide. This is this is where he kind of talks about this, but he doesn't baldly use the words GMO, or he just kind of implies he's doing kind of a nudge, say no more kind of a thing. And see, he even points out modifications followed to stabilize the fusion. That was the clipping of redundancies on both sides of the fusion in order to stabilize so that they didn't just fall back away. And on top of this, it created the neocortex. So I don't think it was an accident. It just is too unlikely. I think he does. He says few words about, you know, the odds of this happening accidentally are pretty astronomically high. So astronomically high that even if you think that it's unlikely that extraterrestrials came and did this to a species on planet Earth, the odds that it was extraterrestrial is way higher than that these 2 chromosomes just fell on each other and just lost the pieces on both sides, the redundancies, and then now they're glued together. And oh, isn't it an accident? It created the neocortex, which, interestingly enough, our emotions sing to the quantum field. This is one of the most important things we need to understand. We are projecting a frequency out to the field, and the field is hearing it. And there is a correlation between the frequencies that you are on as you sing to the field and the different kinds of experiences that appear in your on your physical trail. The kinds of people that you rendezvous with, the kind of ideas that drop into your head, the kind of experiences that you interrelate and co-create with are all affected by this frequency that you are putting out. Now, there's a gentle, positive aspect of it that is happening all the time just because you're in a physical body, even if you have absolutely no emotion going on. If you're just kind of like in a general state of contentment. Let's see here. Let's put these up. The emotional guidance scale, because we do need to talk about what our emotions mean, because they do mean, when you take a look at this from this point of view, you realize, oh, I'm driving a biotechnology, and it works with the field in a particular way. My emotions somehow are my system trying to give me a read on something. Is it trying to guide me to a path? Is it trying to trouble check my thought patterns or processes? Is it giving me a direct read on the value of the conditions that I'm observing? Probably not that one, but that's the one we often think that our emotions are doing. Our emotions are actually doing something a little more subtle. The fact is that you are safe in this world. Now, that's a pretty big claim. The reason that I know that you are safe is because I know that you are not your physical body. I mean, you are your physical body, but you're much, much more than your physical body. You are a quantum field of pure, formless potential consciousness. It's not potential consciousness. It's formless potential and universal consciousness. You are the Planck field, the quantum field that can become any form. That's what you really are. You are source energy. This is what this source energy is. What is source energy? It's this quantum field of anything can appear out of it. What it needs is it needs direction, it needs momentum. It is coming from a pure positive place, so it needs good ideas, that sort of thing. But it can become anything. And you are that. And when you are overly focused upon you as a physical self, that's when you start feeling uncomfortable, because your physical self is made of meat. And meat, do you know what can happen to meat? Lots and lots of things can happen to meat. So if you are overly focused on that aspect of yourself, then that's why you're feeling unsafe. But the truth of the matter is that we are all made of this quantum field of formless energy, and it's not just that, it's beyond that, because the greater understanding is at the level of this quantum field, we are all in this together. This idea of separation is just so manufactured within the human mind. It is not true in the physicality of that which surrounds you. There is something about the human consciousness that allows you to feel this autonomy, this divine aloneness. But I say it that way because it's a divine aloneness, because because the actual truth is that you couldn't be more connected, more loved, more co-creatively involved with all the field around you. This is a really, really special kind of knowing, to know who I am as an individual, because this is going to lead me to my fractal recognition of what the universe is as a whole. I am a fractal integer unto this wholeness that is this fractal and incidentally holographic universe. And we're going to talk about the why it matters that we are a holographic universe. It matters on a lot of levels. It matters on a level of our ability to understand the world around us so that we can create technologies that work in sync and in harmony and in tandem with the forces and fields around us, so that we can co-creatively dance and play with this medium of potential in front of us that is beyond mind-bogglingly amazing if we would but open our hearts and minds to the possibilities, what we can do with this. So cool, so cool. So that's part of it. The other thing is from an individual level, when you understand this stuff, it helps make your personal specific life make a lot more sense. How the law of attraction is bringing to you that which you are projecting. it's um, it's how you are creating your very own branded reality, your very own flavor, your special sauce. You are creating your own reality, although you are co-creating it within a larger field that operates on certain rules and forces and flows. There's just a few things to understand about how it works, and then you can translate the meaning of your own life. You can understand the emotions that you feel, and how to go about getting into alignment with your broader perspective and getting on with a really positive, powerful, empowered. I sort of used, it's kind of redundant, sorry about that. It does help to understand who we are, and it helps my heart and soul a lot to know that there is a possible escape route here. Escape route. I say escape route. What do I mean by escape route? Escape from what? I don't want to escape from anything, do I? We live in a magical and amazing, exciting, delightful universe. Why would I want to escape from it? I don't want to escape from this magnificent universe that I am in. What I want to get away from is the problems. Oh, I need air quotes again. Forget it, I'll just say it. The problems that humanity faces. The problems, I air quoted, but on the other hand, they're quite real. Things like, and I'm heartily tired of this. I've been hearing the echoes of the trouble and the threat and the fear since I was young. And I don't want to feel this way anymore. I felt rumblings and discomfort coming from human beings that had come off of a couple of terrible world wars. And then, smaller wars, Korea, Vietnam, that sort of thing. It was that time. And then we kind of settled down for a little bit, and then our wars, we're still in wars, but they're a little smaller. There's a couple out there that are trying to get bigger, you know? What are our problems? Okay, I'm just going to brush them really generally and briefly because I want you to know that my overall perspective is not one of gloom and doom in any way. I'm not, as quite the contrary, actually. I just want to point out, in case anybody's out there, all full of sunshine and, super positivity, if they imagine that on planet Earth there are no problems because they have learned to just focus on things that are good. Gosh dang it, I'm going to put my blinders on and I'm only going to see this thing right here in front of me that is good. While I see the value of that, your focus and attention are really important. And so you need to focus on the positive and you need to lean towards the feel good and all that. The fact is that collectively and on planet Earth, the morphogenetic field is a little off right now. The system is still fine. We live in a perfect vibrational system that operates in a particular way, and if we would learn to work within that system, we'd be fine. But we haven't quite learned that yet because we don't know who we are. But this is the problems that face us. Things like sixth mass extinction, okay? That is a problem caused by human behavior. Whether you obfuscate and call it global warming, and then some people get out there who are all bent out of shape about the thought of losing their oil and energy futures, push back against that because it's not global warming, we're not anyway, just call it the sixth mass extinction caused by human behavior. And it truly is all kinds of human behavior, the slashing and burning of vital ecosystems around the planet. We are we're destroying the natural diversity that exists on planet Earth. And I'm calling it the sixth mass extinction, and it truly is a mass extinction event, and it is being caused by human behavior, largely by the burning of fossil fuels and the activities that come from the burning of fossil fuels, and then the belching toxic outpour from burning fossil fuels. That's largely what the problem is. There's other problems, ecological problems, the growing deserts, desertification of largely North Africa. I'm sure that there are other deserts growing on the planet. The acidification of the oceans, that's another problem. There's too much carbon in the atmosphere, and it's exacerbating a naturally occurring global warming event that we have nothing to do with. But it would have been a lot more gentle and over time and easy for us to deal with, except for we're exacerbating it with our human behavior. So that's a problem. We have wars brewing. That's a problem. Not everybody on this planet has enough to eat, and there are millions, if not billions, maybe a billion. I don't know. It's so many people. The numbers. What do the numbers mean? Many souls upon this planet are not living in. They're living painful, suffering lives of scarcity, and there's no reason for that. Well, there's a reason for that, but it comes from us not knowing who we are. And quite frankly, if we did know who we are, and if we did understand how this worked, we would quit. We'd just quit doing what we've been doing, because we would realize that it doesn't work. It's sort of like waking up from the, say you were one of those people who were saying, and the beatings will continue until morale improves. And then you wake up one day and realize, oh, beating these people is never going to improve the morale. Punishing each other is never going to bring us to law and order, by the way. It's going to bring us to way too much law and still extreme disorder. That's what it's going to bring us to, because that's how the energies work. It really is not personal. My message largely is we can understand this situation without taking it personally. We do not have to take this personally, people. We just need to understand what we're looking at, so that we can get out of it, so that we can start playing with this super, super, super cool system that we happen to have been born into. There's all kinds of potential for everything we have ever asked for. Well, first of all, ask and it is given. So everything that we have ever asked for has been given to us, but the Lord helps those that help themselves. And quite frankly, the form that the answer has been given to us is vibrational. And so there's still some work to do. Although from what I understand, if you just relax and let go of the oars and go to what is naturally comfortable, pleasant, peaceful, harmonious, loving, kind, playful, organized, if you just naturally go that direction, the Lord is trying to organize us, but not in any specific way that he, she, it's forces. It isn't a separate consciousness from us that is directing our feet to a specific path other than what we want. What it is it's a naturally occurring organizing force that we are all at the very center of and intimately a part of all the way, all across the field, because it is all holographic. It's all like nested within itself in this system of nested spins, in a way, an infinitude of spins coming out of a primordial single spin. That's what it is, in this really cool way. And if you go to the center of the center of the center of the center of your center, you can get to that place where we all are, where everything is at the center of this spin, at the center of the singularity of all singularities, at the center of all things. And you man the center of your own universe, and you look out of your eyes and you follow your desires in clarity and in faith and in knowing who you are. Who am I? Well, I am this quantum field, for one thing. I am made of that, and you all are too, and we are all joined together at the Planck field level, at the level of the fabric of space-time. We're all connected to each other. We are all one thing. And we occupy a single morphogenetic field. Now, you can take this data, they occur at different levels. There's all these different morphogenetic fields, and each one of them an integer of data and information. That's who you are. Now, I have this right here. This is your two selves, your source energy self and your specific human mind, focusing on my specific life, trying to bang out my physical way person. That's who that is. And these two of you together are a binary system of minds. And the bigger one is your source mind, and it knows everything. It knows who you are, knows where you are, knows where you came from, knows how you're mixing with everything around you, knows what you've asked for, all the way. And it is pure positive vibrational energy. It's nothing else. It's nothing else. I don't ever want to limit my description of source energy, because it is the source of all things. It's the source of us. It's the source of so I don't want to limit it. But you have this source mind, which is your overview. It's the one that knows everything. It's your continuum. It's you who you have always been. It knows, and it's connected to all things too. And the way it's doing it vibrationally. It's doing it through this Planck field. It's doing this through an interference pattern happening across, at the quantum level. All the Plancks are touching all across the universes. The Plancks are touching. They are little frequencies, they're little energy packets, they're they're pixels of the universe, and they are fractal. And the Planck field, when it goes into spin, it creates apparent matter. It creates apparent experience. It's like this cosmic Play-Doh that can become anything. And it's directed by consciousness. And our consciousness is like wow. Every day I want to go into new territory, but it's kind of crazy when I go into places that I've never actually spoken in a certain way before. I might, hit a brick wall and pause for a second and go, oh, what was I saying? Yes, okay, here we are. You're this binary system. I was getting ready to explain to you the meaning of your emotions. Now, if you are a student of law of attraction, you already have a rudimentary or perhaps advanced understanding of how this works, what your emotional guidance system is trying to tell you. It's your emotional guidance system is telling you the relationship between the thought between these two minds. Now, the source mind is going to think what it's going to think. It is following all physicality everywhere. It knows everything. It knows where everything is. It knows how it's moving. And the way that it knows that is across the Planck field, and certainly across all the protons of all of the universe. The Planck field of every proton is reflecting all the protons of all the rest of the universe. It's like every now, all of the points in the field are uploading their information to the allness. And then the allness is holographically downloading its information down to every one of the individual points. That's how the universe is holographic. But it means that you are the whole universe, and everything is. It's all contained everywhere. Nothing is left out. It's like every point has 2 points. It's where it is and then the common point with everything else. There's a point where all the information is. All of the information. And that point is everywhere. That's what it means to live in a holographic universe. And as a human being, living in a human being consciousness, in a universe this magnificent, it is really vital and important for us to completely understand how this universe and how my biological systems work. How do I speak to the quantum field? How is the quantum field responding back to me? How do I live my life? What is the meaning of my emotions, my emotional guidance system? Well, anytime that you, specific, conventional, meat-based you, takes a thought that does not resonate with what your greater being knows to be true about your physical situation and your collective and relationary and potential situation, you feel negative emotion. That's where the negative emotion is coming from. It's coming from, so you have a thought, that thought produces an emotion. That's where your emotions are coming from. They are coming from thoughts that you're taking. If somebody that you love dies, and you believe that you are still dancing and playing with them in meaningful ways and will meet up with their spirit again when they have taken a different form and you get to play again and again and again and again, you have a completely different reaction to their death than if you think you are only made of meat and flesh and this was the only shot and stab you had at it and now it's gone and you will never, ever, 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 ever feel their loving touch of their heart again. Well, if you dwell in thoughts like that, you're going to feel negative emotion because your inner being isn't thinking anything like that. Your inner being knows all kinds of things about who you are, and there are beings out there who have all of this information. You are known, you are loved, you are appreciated, you are real. You are real. You know, you hear a lot about this experience that we're having being imaginary, illusionary. You know, things like, oh, I'm going to show you this, because kind of from this perspective, this sort of gives you the idea that the universe is an illusion. The universe isn't an illusion. It's not that the universe isn't, it's there. The quantum soup is there. It's just that how you are looking at it and how you are reading the meaning of this quantum soup that you are in makes all the difference in the experience that you are wringing out of it, or co-creatively dancing out of it, or I don't know. How you are looking at it is everything, because how you are looking at it is producing different vibrational frequency emissions coming from you, and those emissions the field around you is responding to and coming back to you. and you are receiving on the same frequency that you are transmitting. That's how come it's so important to be in positive, loving, kind, higher states of emotion. It has nothing to do with sin or God punishing you or you ought to do that. You start putting energy like that into it, and the next thing, and everybody wants to cheat, you know? You need to understand that the higher emotions, they don't have anything to do with hell or sin or anything like that, other than the fact that hell is just a place that you can get jammed up in your own consciousness, where it looks like you're all alone, and things are wild and dark and scary and dangerous. You can get there in your consciousness. You can do that. The human consciousness can totally do that. But it's not really true. So look at this. These are from the Buddhist philosophy, considered to be the root causes of all suffering. These are known as the 5 kleshas. And look at this: not knowing what is real, grasping and clinging to the unreal, being afraid of the unreal and recoiling from it, identifying with an imaginary self, and fear of death. Now, I can see where these kleshas, as stated, are sort of implying something that I'm not really on board with. The fact is this world around us is not an illusion. However, the way you are looking at it makes an enormous amount of difference in the way that your experience is playing out, especially because you are in a human body and you have an emotional configuration that is quite special and sings to the field in a particular way. And you can hide from source and hide from the allness that you, as a human being, you can pretend like it's one thing when it's really another, much more than the other creatures can do. That instinct that you think that they're all following, it is impulses from source they are way more directly plugged into than we are. We can go in 180 degrees opposite direction, which makes us both incredibly dangerous and powerfully creative, and with just amazing possibilities. We are the kind of species who could get to the bottom of the very fabric of all creation, the meaning of the Planck field and how I relate to it, and gravity control. And so where are we going to get gravity control? Well, let me finish this subject before I leave it, so I don't have to flit back to it. Identifying with an imaginary self. Look at that one. That's number 4. I actually think it's not so much identifying with an imaginary self. It's overly identifying with your meat self, and not being aware of who you are as the Planck field, as the formless giving rise to the form. You are the formless. You are the formless giving rise to the form, and that form is ever in flux and flow. And if you would identify that way, you would feel a lot better. When you start overly identifying with the body of form that you are, when form is always in flux, always becoming and begoing and becoming and begoing, when you overly identify with the form aspect of you, you're very uncomfortable, because that form is not permanent. It's very temporary, as a matter of fact. Everybody that you know that has come into a physical form is going out at some point, whether they make it 100 years or 120 years, which would be pretty spectacular, but still you're going. And so when you're identifying incorrectly, and then you have this fear of death, which is a crazy thing to have a fear of death, because we're all dying, each and every one of us, and yet we always treat it like the biggest tragedy. It's always untimely. It's always, well, we got to get over that, because there is an aspect of us that never, ever, ever, ever dies, and it's a frequency, and it's a continuum. And it's you. It's you as consciousness, and all of us in our individual consciousnesses add together to make universal consciousness, but we're not separate. There's a reason they call it universal consciousness, because all of us have a ticket into it. All of us have our way of viewing the allness channel. I call it the allness channel. It's the frequency of that informational flow of the holographic universe. It's how your inner being, it's how you have an inner being. I think of it as your cosmic vibrational anatomy. That's what your inner being is. And the reason that it can exist is because the way this Planck field is designed, and how all the information is transferring across all the scales through this interference pattern, ultimately happening at the Planck level, at the pixel level, down at the fabric of the universe level. Everything's touching, and everything knows itself. The universe is alive. You are alive with it. The universe is conscious, and you are conscious with it. And in possession of a human consciousness, you have an amazing, amazing piece of machinery that you are riding for this season. And if you would understand fully how it works, you could line yourself up, believe in your own desires, see how your desires co-create with all the rest of the desires. And as a matter of fact, if your desires resonate with what the rest of the group wants, then the universe is going to have all kinds of cooperative components readily available at your fingertips to help you with anything and everything you need help with. If your desires truly mesh with the desires of the rest of the group. And I think mine do. My desire is that I want to live in a world where we don't have Garbage Island, where our deserts are not growing and our seas are not dying, and we are not killing off most of the biodiversity of the planet through the sixth mass extinction happening because of human behavior. I would like not to be doing that. That's one of my desires, and I think most of you want that too. I would like the divine autonomy of every sentient being to be recognized and respected, and and if you don't agree with sentient being, certainly every human being, the divine autonomy of every human being, every soul's freedom to choose their own path. Now, in order to get to let loose all of the restrictions that we've got going on right now, we've got to raise our consciousness quite a bit, because there's quite a lot of destructive people misbehaving in violent ways at the moment, and you can't just let all the laws go. But if you have a greater, broader perspective understanding of where that lawlessness is coming from, the truth of the matter is that when when we do not know who we are, then we create things that are not sustainable, that do not line up in harmonics with the rest of the field. And in doing so, we create what I'm going to call Shiva energy, this destructive energy pattern that then has to play out in the field. And it plays out in the form of often angry, disgruntled, disenfranchised human beings wielding guns or dropping bombs or whatever to destroy the systems that are not sustainable, because in truth and in reality, we are not going to get away with this. That which cannot sustain will not be sustained, and there's no human beings imagining that it would be different, that it should be different, is going to make that happen. The way human beings can imagine this to be different, we have to understand how the field works first, and then we can completely reimagine this. But you can't just imagine it to be different in ways that the universe doesn't work and expect it to just happen. That's not going to happen. So, not knowing what is real. What is real? What is real? Well, you are formless. You are ultimately formless consciousness giving rise to the form and flux around you. What do you call it? The manifestation, the rolling manifestation, I call it. It's always in flux. The form itself is always in flux, always moving, always changing. But who are you? You are the formless within that form. And the form that you are, you have given rise to. That's who you really are. And if you can identify that way, instead of identifying with your meat body, or you are your meat body, don't discount it. It is the instrument through which you are experiencing actual reality in this moment, in this time. It's the seat of your consciousness at the moment, at your individual specific consciousness, but you have broader perspective consciousness. You do have it. And it's this. You can see the broader perspective. You just perhaps are not letting yourself. You're not identifying that way. You are identifying too small. You're thinking of yourself as being too small. You are an eternal continuum of desire and information. Desire, you say? What do you mean desire? Well, you are an evolving, expanding consciousness, because that's what consciousness is doing. It's evolving and expanding, and that's what you are, and that's what you're doing, and you can't escape from that. And that's all well and fine, because you really wouldn't want to escape from that. But, all right, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. Oh, actually I'm not. This is you, when you get into a negative, how do you pull yourself back out of it to the positive? And why do you need to? Because your broader perspective, that of you which knows who and what you really are, where you've come from, where you're going, and what you're mixing with, that part of yourself knows a number of things. Knows you are love. Knows you are intimately connected with all things. Knows that you are good. Knows that what you want is more, better. Wow. Know that you are good. Just know that you are good, and I don't care how bad you are being right now. But I'll tell you what, when you realize who and what you are and how good you really are, and then you look at how bad you've been, you're gonna be a little chiding of yourself. You're gonna be like, oh wow, what was I thinking? What was I doing? Because you are good. And I don't care if you're Vladimir Putin. And I don't care if you're Donald Trump. And I don't care if you're Kim Jong-un. And I don't care if you're any other authoritarian dictator, large or small. You are still good. You just don't know who you are. And you don't know who we are if you're going to be acting that way. But what it is you are carrying Shiva energy. You are carrying Shiva energy that we created. Because this is the most important part of this discussion. There is no us and them. They are us. There is only us. There is only us. So you can't retreat into a safe place, even if you're talking about Nazis. Nazis are still us. They are part of the single morphogenetic field that comprises humanity on planet Earth. And this phenomenon of authoritarian psychosis, of Wetiko, of whatever you want to call this phenomenon that happens, that we pick up, this Nazi thing, this seemingly, it's a particular kind of energy. We pick it up because we don't understand who we are, and then we create systems that are not in alignment with what we are, and that makes other parts of us disgruntled, disenfranchised, angry, and that creates that Shiva energy in the field that these authoritarians at the top of the ticket tap into and then resonate with. And then all the people follow them because of those kinds of energies. Well, you don't have to take it personally. You certainly don't have to push back against them directly, because they are just acting on these energies unconsciously. The answer is for us to understand the energies, for us to understand ourselves, for us to understand our configuration, the configuration of the quantum field that we are embedded in, as well as the configuration of our inner being, our cosmic vibrational anatomy, and how it relates to our boots on the ground self, our meat body, our biotechnology that was given to us through our genetic modification some 200,000 years ago by I don't know who. That's interesting questions, isn't it? And opens up all kinds of new fields of scientific study and inquiry as we cast our eyes to the planet Earth and look for the evidence of that extraterrestrial visitation. Now, this brings us to an interesting question. Why don't we know about this, the UFO phenomenon, collectively? Why is it all... I'm so sorry, I have this frog in my throat, and my voice would sound so much clearer if I could get rid of it. Oh well, I have this wonderful raspy voice now. You're just gonna have to deal with it. The reason that we don't know collectively, it's like an open secret. Why is it an open secret? Why is it a secret at all? It shouldn't be a secret at all, open or not. But why is it kept secret from us? The reason is that the way UFOs move implies things about energy that the people who own all of the hundreds of trillions of dollars of energy futures in fossil fuels don't want us to know. Because we're all operating on this general paradigm, and most of us are not thinking about it all the time. I've been thinking about it a lot. It implies that the reason they don't want us to know this is because we have been told, and our formal energy education system, excuse me, my mind is a little scrambled, tell us that it is not possible to have devices that put out more energy than they take to run. Those are called over-unity devices. And there's a long history of these devices being deep-sixed, oftentimes along with their inventors, if they could not be silenced in other ways. Most of the time, these inventors went straight to the patent office, and then the patent office shut them down in various ways through national security concerns, or there's a movie out if you want to explore this piece of information a little farther. It is called The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. And it explores the history of how devices that could have freed us from fossil fuels a long time ago have been squelched for over a century, starting with when Nikola Tesla, well, his work, what Nikola Tesla was trying to do, his Tesla Tower. I need to look into this, the details of it more. He was offering free something to people, free communications, free energy, something. JP Morgan didn't like it because he didn't want free anything, because his paradigm, his wealth was based on his being able to capitalize. And so he shut Tesla down because he didn't, if you're giving away really, really valuable stuff for free, then you're cutting into the kinds of things that I can use to monetize, to capitalize, to make my fortune. Now, I'm not pushing back against anything. I have recently realized why the system is trying to force us all to capitalize, because what that does is it forces us all to plug into each other. So some people are capitalizing by taking their environment around them and turning it into souvenirs and trying to sell it to tourists that come through. And others are having great ideas for capturing other people's attention and just putting it up on the internet and monetizing that way. It doesn't matter. The system just wants us all linked up to one another. At least that's what I think. That is a perspective that comes from a place where you're pushing back against nothing. You assume that every single thing that is happening anywhere at any time has value. That even things like Garbage Island, the existence of all those heavy-duty concerns that I said, everything from the hole in the ozone, I actually didn't say that one, growing deserts, Garbage Island, sixth mass extinction, war, starvation, all those things, every one of those things has some kind of value. Well, what's happening is that it's such an existential threat to all things that it is causing more and more and more consciousnesses focusing that direction. And in our focusing, we are understanding in this really big
way who we are and what it's made of. What is the universe? What is consciousness? Who am I in my divine autonomy in the center of my center? How do I man my center to fly my celestial light vehicle, which is basically what I am underneath this vehicle of flesh and blood? How do I turn it in the direction of what I want and move towards what I want? And the answer is going to free us from all of our travails, so ask and it is given. Step 1, you ask. Step 2, source answers. Step 3, you've got to get into a state of allowing. You've got to get into a state of positive expectation where you can believe that it can be understood. You believe you can understand it, and the answer will come to you. Lean into it and allow source to deliver the answer to you. It is in vibration, and go find that vibration and follow its call. That's the answer. Step 1, you ask. Step 2, source answers. Step 3, get into a state of allowing that answer to come to you. Step 4, get good at step 3. Step 5 is you're back in step 1. You're having a contrasting moment, as in you're experiencing something uncomfortable, but you're not upset about it now because you understand how this process works, that this negative information is actually giving you positive information. You just have to get to the positive end of the stick, and then the answer flows back to you. How do you do that? Care about how you feel. Let go of the oars. Know that source is taking care of this. Source is answering our cries. each and every one of us has an inner being that is guiding us through the path of least resistance to our greatest desires. And it is happening. It is blooming. It is blossoming on planet Earth. We have come so far in the last 100 years. We are so far from the species who perpetrated World Wars I and II. We really are. Our consciousness has come so far. And you got to feel it from the inside to know that that's true. Sometimes you can look at it from the outside and go, oh my gosh, look what we're doing over here. We're as stupid as ever. Stupider even. But we aren't really. That's just... but we have a long way to go in our understanding, in our understanding of what our problems really are and what it would take to solve them. Now, I'm going to go to my cymatic little spiel so that you can see this. I do this every day. Every single day, I pull out these two slides. This one is showing digital cymatic patterns put through some sort of a digital device. And as you change the frequencies of what you're putting through this device, it creates different patterns. Right? So now look at this one. This one, I like this one too. This one is showing some sort of granular medium on metal plates, both in the upper right and lower left. You see that? As you pipe frequencies through this metal plate, the granular medium on the top of it, whether it's sand or salt or I don't know what it is, probably sand or something like that, that creates a different pattern on that metal plate. And as you change the frequency, the pattern changes. Now think about this. As the frequency goes from one frequency to another and that pattern changes, there's a moment where it's not either pattern. Both of them are kind of there and both of them are kind of not completely there, and it looks a bit chaotic. It can be frightening, especially if the pattern that you are clinging to is the one that's on the way out and not the one that's on the way in, right? If you're still making your living making buggy whips as cars are becoming more and more popular, you're getting uncomfortable. And so maybe you need to start making driving gloves instead, or sidewall tires, or something like that. There is an analogy to what's going on in the world right now. There are things that are changing in the field, and if you are clinging to, and there's a lot of momentum to the old stuff that's on the way out, it's clinging to it in a rigid kind of way, but that which is not sustainable and that which is not true is not going to sustain in the field. So I don't care how hard you grasp to it, it's on the way out. It's begoing, not becoming. So think about that as you are thinking about how to monetize, how to capitalize, how to plug into the currency of humanity. Right now, a lot of that currency is represented by, I'm calling it petrodollars. They're units of energy that we're trading. That's a lot of what the base value of our human currency is coming from. It's coming from energy trading of energy stocks and such, so that you can plug into that piece of humanity's goods and services, the food that it produces, the goods that it manufactures, the actual currency of the actual universe is focus and attention. That's what it actually is. And that's how come, by way of the internet, you can monetize by creating something that captures people's attention. That in itself is a monetizable commodity, because it is the real currency of the universe, because the universe is consciousness. And so focus and attention is actually what's bringing about everything. And my focus and my attention is what's bringing me to this place where I understand who and what we are and what's going to lead us out of the wilderness. Out of the wilderness of the way that we produce energy right now, because that's actually what's causing all of the litany of problems that I already told you are largely coming out of our energy paradigm. And that's largely coming out of our misunderstanding of who and what we are and what source energy is. We should be tapping directly into source energy. So remember I told you that your inner being knows everything that's going on around you. That's your cosmic vibrational anatomy, basically. It's the rest of you. You have two aspects to yourself. One is sort of your physical body that ends at your skin. That is a valid aspect of you. It absolutely is. But there's more to you than that. There's a you that extends from the edge of your skin all the way out, too. And both of these two aspects of you combined are the you that you are experiencing in your physical life. That is true. But that aspect of you that goes past your skin and out to the rest of the universe, that part of you is a continuum, an eternal continuum. Focus that way. Know that to be true. And you will have a lot easier life. An easier life experience. This right here is part of Nassim Haramein's, and there's a couple of other people that published his paper with him. I should have a. I will. As soon as this is done, I will make a slide, and tomorrow you will see that slide that shows the title of this paper and where this paper is, so you can go look at it. But this right here shows the mathematics of how the Planck field within every proton is reflecting all the protons in the rest of the universe. It's how the information of the whole universe is contained in the Planck field of every single proton. And I believe that this is what it's saying, that it is from where that proton is located on the grid. So the Planck field of the one proton over here is configured slightly different than the Planck field of some proton over here, because they are reflecting the wholeness from a different place. So you have all the information from everywhere. It's like each and every one of us has the whole Lego set, right? And I am iterating the wholeness from my authentic center, and that's what creates both the diversity of this magnificent universe and the sameness that allows us all to click into one another, so that we all can become a single ecosystem that is co-creative and infinitely abundant and all that. I'm going to tell you what human beings have in their collective vortex. This is what we all want. And when what you want resonates with what we all want, then you will find cooperative components everywhere to your endeavors. You will find massive cooperation in the world around you. Now, I believe that someday I will find massive cooperation in the field around me because of the way I am focused. Right now, I haven't actually wanted physical cooperation. I have been just fine developing all this by myself, being by myself. I enjoy being by myself because I know that I am never alone. The universe is always with me, densely, supportively, lovingly, kindly with me always. It just is, in every form, and every face that comes into my field has something to show me, to tell me, to teach me, to offer me some value. It's all It's all good. It's all good. Things are always working out for me. Always working out for me. This next slide also came from Nassim's paper, and this shows us just a little bit of something, shows how as the Planck field comes into material manifestation, how it is spinning. Spin is baked into the cake. Spin is part of it becoming mass. They aren't separate. It's not, it becomes mass and now it's spinning. As it becomes mass, it's spinning. That's what the mass is. It's a little vortex of this Planck field, this pixelated Planck field spinning. That's what a freaking proton is. That's what a piece of mass is. And it's all little tiny integers of wholeness, these little vortices of spin that are atoms, protons, atoms, planets, solar systems, suns, galaxies, black holes at the center of galaxies, black holes at the center of clusters, black holes at the center of universes that are themselves black holes. So cool. Black holes all the way up, black holes all the way down. Spell that with a W, W-H-O-L-E-S, and think of them as fractal integers reflecting the allness up and down at different scales, and all of the data moving across the scales is what zero-point energy is. And we need to learn how to tap into that. We need to know that there is an answer to our prayers. We do not have to burn fossil fuels. But the very first thing you need to know is that it's possible that we don't need to burn fossil fuels, and we can still birth our civilization into an era of unimaginable abundance and prosperity. We do not have to live in a paradigm of lack and suffering, and the reason that we are is because we're focusing on the wrong end of the stick, and we don't realize that the way that we focus and the way that we feel when we focus is creative. It's creating, and we can create all the things that we want instead of creating all the things that we don't want, which is what we have been largely doing because we haven't understood our machinery. We think that what we're supposed to do is focus on the problems. Focus on the problems. Focus on the problems. But the problem is that's step one, and that's all well and fine. It did create the answers. But you have to get into a state of faith and know that God is giving us the answers. Who is this God I just invoked? The allness. The freaking allness that we are all a part of. The Almighty, you could say. But it's not a separate force. It is an integrated force working through you to organize us all into harmonic, symphonic, playful, joyful co-creation. And that, all the feelings that you want, the universe wants too. That joy, freedom, abundance, clarity, comfort, recreation, entertainment, joyful play, and sustaining relationship and symbiotic, all of that. That's what the universe wants. It wants what you want. You just need to get clear about your clear desires. Now, a lot of times, desire is consigned to the realm of the devil. The devil is what's giving you all of your desires. Well, it's kind of like this forces of incoherence, of chaos, have sort of garbled your clear desire. And then you're calling it the devil. Because the garbled, out of alignment configuration of your desire now has caused something kind of twisted. And especially if you're not paying attention to how you feel, you don't care about how you feel, you just care about the conditions, and you're trying to bang those conditions into different form, no matter what anything feels like. You are not taking the pings of impulse and information from the larger coherence that's trying to organize us. It's only trying to organize us into loving, cooperative coherence. It doesn't have any stake in any particular way the form will shake out. That's your choice. That's your choice. You get to choose. There are a lot of viable ways that you could move in any direction that would be life-sustaining and would be cooperatively satisfying and capitalizing potential. The potential to capitalize also. It's all there. You get to choose. But you got to get into the center of your machinery and make those choices. You got to care about how you feel. You got to focus on something. And in your focus, it's going to cause a feeling. If that feeling's negative, you might want to pick a different thought. You want to find thoughts that resonate with what your source knows to be true about you. You are good. You are worthy. You are eternal. You are connected. You are loved. You have all kinds of resources at your fingertips if you would but rest, let go of the oars of agitation and rest in faith, knowing that you live in a loving, cooperative, eternal universe of unlimited potential. You are the formless. You are the formless coming into the form. You are the quantum field. You are connected to all things. You are connected to universal consciousness, by the way. And the ticket into universal consciousness is a frequency. You've got to be broadcasting a particular frequency. And then what comes back to you is the allness channel. Universal consciousness. You're like, oh, but you have to expect it. You have to know it to be there. You have to believe that you're good enough that you can access it. You have to believe it's understandable. If you believe it's impossible to understand anything, you will never be able to understand it. I don't care how easy it is to understand. If you believe it's impossible to understand something, that's something you will never understand. So, if you want to understand source energy, the first thing you have to do is believe that source energy can be understood. And turns out you are source energy. So, is there anything? I think I have shown all of my slides, except for this one. This was Franz Kafka. This is the moral of a wonderful story. The Kafka and the doll story. Go look that one up. Go look that one up on the internet. Kafka and the doll story. It's beautiful. And it shows how your love is the important thing, and the object that you place it upon is less important. Your love is the most important thing. Broadcast it always, and have nothing to do with the conditions around you. And then just watch and see how much more loving and kind and supportive and co-creative the conditions around you start to be. Because the universe is responding to the frequency that you are broadcasting on. You are broadcasting and receiving to the universe. And a lot of the reason that you are such an amazing instrument to do that is because of our design. The design of our neocortex and our broader perspective, and the way our emotions sing to the quantum field puts us in a position where, given enough time in this petri dish we call Earth, it was going to be almost inevitable that we would figure out what we are. I'm wondering who it is that created us, that did this genetic modification. Did they do it? So here's a load of some interesting questions. Are we a known formula, or were we an experiment? Do they consider us their children? Do they consider us their possessions, or their servants, their slaves, their teachers? Are we their what are we? Are they sitting in their spaceships just on the other side of Jupiter, taking bets on how long it's going to take us to figure out who we are and turn this ship around? They're going to be able to tell when we've done it, because our vibration on planet Earth is going to be way different. Right now it's really agitated. It's very there's a lot of agitation that needs to be soothed. There's inflammation everywhere that needs to calm down. They will be able to feel it in our vibration, I'm sure, when we have crossed that threshold. And then they show up and say, hey, we were waiting for you to sort that out, and now, I don't know. I have no idea. All of the things that I'm saying are opening up so many more questions than they answer. There might be some of you who want to get right to the technology aspect of our situation. Every one of those things that I said is wrong with planet Earth. You know, the sixth mass extinction and the garbage island and all that. Don't need to say it all again. Every one of those could be ameliorated through a new energy paradigm. Because we have all the basic technology. We know how to desalinate seawater. We know how to sequester carbon. We know how to recycle garbage island. We know how to do a lot of things. But the problem is that we need energy to do that. And the way we're extracting energy is so foul and dirty that it amounts to, as we try to clean up planet Earth using energy that is so dirty, it's like we're moving one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, two steps back, and we're never going to get anywhere. We need to get plugged into better sources of energy. And the fact is, the very first step in that is we've got to believe that we can. We've got to intend that we do. And then just let the impulses of God and the coordinating, coherent, organizing forces that are this loving, positive energy that we are all a part of. Let that, drop into our minds the right ideas. There are going to be, the math has been done. So the math is the precursor to the technologies. The math that understands this new way of looking at the universe and yourself has been done. And so anybody who's technically interested in this sort of thing can now go make their lives working on the technologies. If you're interested, go to the Resonance Science Foundation.org, I think it is, or just Google Resonance Science Foundation, or the International Space Federation. Either one of those, you'll see all the mathematical papers, you'll see all the people working on whatever. There is so much opportunity for us to turn our ship around. This ship can turn around. We can come into sync with the rest of the field and the morphogenetic field and the biosphere around us. We absolutely can do that. The most important thing in the long term to do this is to change our energy paradigm. We can rebloom the deserts by desalinating billions of gallons of ocean water, but we can't do it using the energy of fossil fuels. We can achieve gravity control through our better understanding of where the force of gravity actually comes from, by a better understanding of this quantum field and how that is creating all all phenomenon across all the universes. It's all one thing. It's this Planck field spinning. So cool. Such a cool future that we have. Such a blessed future that we have for ourselves. But we've got to understand who we are. We really, really, really need to understand who we are. And to that service every day will I come into this space and just riff. We're just going to come into this space every day, and we're going to talk about this more and more and more fully. And I hope, it is my fervent prayer that soon I can ask you into this space live to ask me questions about it. Because when I get into this state, I can't answer some of these questions. I don't pretend to know all the answers to all the questions, but I do know some answers to some questions. And I do know that we are all heading to a very, very bright future. If we'd quit staring at the present that we have, and especially the aspects of it that we don't like, that's only slowing us down. So I think I've done it for one day. I hope you join me again tomorrow. I'm going to start posting this to my channel, and I am going to give a new version of this every single day, and we're going to see if anybody starts picking up on it. Maybe this is the first one that I publish to my new channel. Until tomorrow, then, I bid you abundance, I bid you love, I bid you peace. And until tomorrow, goodbye.